This plugin I use on almost everything.
Once again, to rip the attention somewhere else or pull it back to the vocal, but I don't want to have a new character.
You can then select and edit any of them, really. So
Stomps and claps.
You could take like a stack of guitars and make it sound kind of hyperpop just by swinging this to the right.
Which makes things sound more sort of three-dimensional. And so I use a lot of things like that where it puts it in a sort of world.
We have got a ridiculously exciting festive gear giveaway competition, and one winner will walk away with this incredible prize list. All you have to do is head over to the Tape Notes Patreon page at patreon.com/Tape Notes. Sign up for free and comment who you'd like to see on the podcast on the top pinned post. The competition will remain open until the 2nd of January, at which point a winner will be drawn. Good luck.
There's always space. Even though it's just two speakers, there's always space, and sometimes you just have to sculpt the right EQ out of one thing so that the other thing can live there and exist there. There's an amazing plugin called Soothe, which I'm sure you've come across. I'm sure many people come on here and rave about. But Soothe is amazing because it makes room for stuff. So especially with the orchestral elements of this album, the process of trying to get that to sound like there's space for other things is interesting, because orchestras aren't designed to be one part of a larger sound. They're designed to be the entire sound. The way an orchestra works is that every frequency is kind of perfectly represented. And so, yeah, plugins like Soothe and also you're just very deliberate EQing and being sometimes quite abrupt about, I will definitely high pass this whole track, or I'll definitely low pass this whole track just to make room. Those kinds of like hard line decisions can actually really help.
it's the Arturia DX7 plugin they do, and I'm layering it with Razor, which is a Reactor plugin that I used a lot, especially around then. I think it's the one that I mentioned trying to ban off Brat, even though we didn't fully ban it. But, so this is the DX7 and Razor together. And it's just kind of, it's a little bit lo-fi in a way, and it's a very weird bass line if you hear it with the, other parts removed, like when you hear it with the so hearing it together makes more sense, but it's a kind of weird, it's got sort of budget sounding feel to it.
There's a plugin called Morphoder. I'll show you what I do with it, which I really like. So like if I have a vocal, say it's this vocal.
To hell with the glories of this. 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 To hell with the glories of.
And I use that for layers, I'll just make them and print them and say, okay, this one's a C, this one's an A, this one's high, whatever, and just make these something between that and the Isotope vocal synth, which is a nice one too, is I just fuck around until I get these weird stacks that sound like this. And they're not very present, but they create a sound behind it all. And I just play with them. It's sort of like if I have a moment in a song where it's like I want, once again, to rip the attention somewhere else or pull it back to the vocal, but I don't want to have a new character. I don't want, it's just in any way subverting the obvious of, well, I could just have someone else sing, introduce a new voice. I like to introduce different characters of my own voice. I think is a really satisfying way of doing it. So like, and I'm just totally fucking around in this plugin.
And I recorded the sound of our ice skating, which you hear in the middle of the track in the sort of breakdown. So I've recorded it on my phone, and you can hear, her sort of like moving around and coming past me. I've had to roll sub bass off it. I've put some compression on it because it had some mad spikes Oh, and I've used this plugin called Microshift on it, which makes things sound more sort of three-dimensional. I think it like puts a little delay on them between your two speakers. I think that's what it does. Microshift Sound Toys. So I've put that on, and that makes it just sound more stereo. It's like I want the melody and the groove of it all to be sort of here, and then the ice skating and the humans and all the people and stuff are sort of like echoes around in the sort of distance around you, and have that sort of subliminal effect of like, all right, you're really engaged with the melody and the sounds and everything, but there's an atmosphere there that makes it all, puts it in a sort of world. And so I use a lot of things like that, where there's little quiet echoey bits of vocals and noises, and I sort of learned early on that having these little bits of texture, you know, especially when you're doing like electronic music, it really puts things in a sort of zone that is a way for people to connect to it without them really even understanding why they're connecting to it. You know?
Yeah. Time for a quick Tape It feature highlight. Among many of the brilliant features within Tape It, you can add a widget that lets you record straight from your lock screen. So when you have a song idea, just press record and focus on your music. To find out more, follow the link in the description or use the promo code Tape Notes for 20% off Tape It Pro.
And so as I play one note, here you go, here's an E. And right now, there's a whole bunch of those cities that are singing. You can see those cities that are singing on the right-hand side. Now, I can move the vowel sound with this circle here. So now it's an M. Super awesome. That can open up to an U. That's an E. I think R is probably my favorite. It's just like, whoa, you know? That's how it feels to be in the venue.
It does. I mean, this whole experience feels like I'm back in Brixton.
Right. Down the bottom of the keyboard here. Oh, yep. Stomps and claps. Snaps, claps. And then these are single instances of chords. And these are whole triads recorded. So like, you know, in the middle of a song or an audience choir, you take one triad, and that's how it sounds, which is different from this, which is more like I've recreated them with three different single notes.
Is that what made... I'm going to ask you a question. Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Mark Bowen asks...
Come in.
How do you get your snares so bright but with so much weight? That's the thing for me. It's like, you know, we listen to pop, pop, pop there. The snare is so much brighter than I would have made the choice.
Yeah.
Because I'm always looking for weight from snare.
I'm always fighting against people in hip hop who are clipping their drums, whether they know it or not sometimes. Now, obviously, like always, like people are doing it on purpose, but the way FL sounded for years, it has a certain ceiling to it. So drums in FL have this kind of clipped thing to it. It became a really big sound in hip hop because of Metro Boomin and other huge producers. And for me, even when I go to a kit recorded with 10 mics or whatever, a bit of clipping or a bit of like stock Ableton saturation and things like that give it like a different, not the weight. The weight's going to come from how you're recording it, the sound of the sample, whatever, but the snappiness and the punch that you feel like you don't get sometimes from like when you listen to a close mic on a drum kit and you're like, this sounds nothing like a sick trap snare or whatever. It's a little bit of clipping for me really is the thing where I think people hear drums that I do that are live instruments or like live recorded drums and they go, wow, this really hits like something on a rap song or this or that. It's clipping. I really like Venn Audio V clip. And then I'm an Ableton guy, so I really like the Ableton stock saturator and just engage soft clip. But I think that, like, you put that on your drums right now and tell me it doesn't make a difference. It's unreal.
And drum bus is sick as well.
Yeah, I'm off drum bus now. It's a little bit, it's doing like, I hate plugins that you don't know what they do. You know, like,
yeah. I
used to hate the CLA plugin because it's like, it does CLA vocals, but it's like, no one knows what the hell is going on in there. And like, that for me is what drum bus does, but yeah, we'll have to get into it.
I mean, I only recently discovered what a compressor was.
I'm trying to keep it short and you made it go long. I was trying to go short.
My vocals are all filtered, which is an interesting one too, because it really pulls them back. So, if my vocals are completely clean with no filter, it would sound like this.
Tell them to grease
Hold on.
the wheels. Pull the arrow back, start the appeal.
Much more present, but I have them kind of
Tell them to grease the wheels.
slightly underwater.
Pull the arrow back, start the appeal.
And I like that. I did that a few times on this album. I did that on Me Before You too. There's something about it. I use a filter freak, which I like. It just makes it feel like someone's inner dialogue.
Yeah.
And I think so much about that with vocal treatment. Like, for example, if I'm...
Tell them to grease the wheels. Pull the arrow back, start the appeal.
There's reverb.
I'm not the man who sold the world.
I'm no longer in your ear.
Tell them to grease the wheels.
Now it's very personal.
Pull the arrow back,
Now
start
it's too
the
personal.
appeal. I'm not the man who sold
Now
the
it's
world.
kind of scary how much of an inner dialogue it is. So there's this kind of perfect
Pull
spot
the arrow back, start the appeal.
where, for me, with the filters and whatnot, where I feel like, okay, it's in my head, but it's not esoteric.
Simplant works by listening to an audio sample and then, it refers to itself as AI, but it's sort of just like it's not online or anything. It's just using this sort of algorithm to listen or attempt to recreate the audio sample hundreds of times really quickly. And then it'll sort of try and synthesize it. So there's no real sampling going on, but it's almost like, give it many, many, many failed attempts at recreating a symbol and it'll eventually get there. But what's fun is that, let me do it. It won't be exactly the same, but if I open up Simplant, so I think I started with this really basic crash sound from the demo. It's obviously just recorded and, a little bit dirty. And I'm listening to it here. Oh, wait, let me solo that. So, and then I just click generate patches. And these are all editable as well. So it's just going to keep... You can hear that each one's getting a little bit closer to the sample.
Yeah.
It's randomized, and then I assume it's the AI or the algorithm that's selecting from the random ones and being like, oh, this is a slightly closer match. And it has this whole DNA metaphor in the interface. So it's almost like, oh, this is a slightly better genetic match. Let's keep going. And you'll hear the more it's doing, they're all actually pretty close to it now, because that kind of symbol is doable. If you throw a vocal in, it would be interesting but pretty garbled. Or sometimes I've done a guitar chord and it kind of gets there, but it's but yeah, once you click on one of them, you can recall any of them. So that's an early one that kind of missed the boat, and then here's a later one that's pretty good. But you can then select and edit any of them really. So you can be like, this is me just editing it around, so it's pretty fascinating. And actually, as a shortcut, because I was really just toying with it probably for the first time, I just recorded all the versions it made and threw them all into a sampler so I could then play back.
Right.
So I just had them, and it's similar to the sound, but once again, it's that uncanny thing where it's funny enough to have the cymbal be like the snare effectively in the song, but then to also make it this almost artificial acoustic cymbal. And then, okay, I've got this sort of humming, hoovering sound but I think I didn't even put a real musical reference. I was just messing with like putting noise through it, and so you get these extended half synth, half noise elements.
Like, one thing that we're doing on this record a lot is like we record in one key, and then I always want to go, but I want it to be like 2 keys higher, but I want it to sound like someone's made it 2 keys higher badly, so you can tell my voice sounds like a chipmunk and stuff. I don't know why, but like this elastique thing makes it's like you cannot tell that it's
too good.
It's too good.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So I don't like that.
he's talking about changing the pitch and it being really accurate and good at doing that. But I'm talking about using the formant on it for like an entire group of something.
Right.
You're
You're going to illustrate this.
Why not? So yeah, obviously changing the pitch. That's an octave there. So yeah, this can change the pitch of something really cleanly. So let's go down like. But also you can rock the timbre of entire groups, and it's just really useful basically. So that's my new altar boy.
Right.
Yeah, for that reason.
Yeah.
You could take like a stack of guitars and make it sound kind of hyper pop just by swinging this to the right. It's the same key. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
This plugin I use on almost everything, and it's TB Real Bus, and it's a tape emulator, and it gives everything a little bit of width. But the thing I like, it gives everything a little bit of width and a little bit of saturation. But the thing I really like is this sort of tape wobble. You can have this. I mean, this is it really exaggerated. So I kind of put that on stuff to give it this, like, make things kind of come alive a little bit.
Yeah.